Income inequality in the United States and the UK has become so wide that while the richest are very well off, those in the bottom decile have a worse standard of living than the average person living in the poorest countries in Europe, such as Slovenia. This, according to new analysis from Financial Times columnist John Murdoch. Income distributions in the UK and particularly the US are significantly less equal than in other Western nations. In the UK, the top 10% earn almost 5 times the bottom, and the US, it's more than 6 times.
Byrne Murdoch contends that, consequently, Britain and the U.S. should be considered poor societies with some very rich people. I totally disagree. I don't know what you think about this, Batya. Look, I look at this, and yes, it's true we have much more wealth. So we have more wealth inequality because we're a very large country with a lot of people. We have a lot of very rich people in it, and we do have a lot of very poor people. But on average, our living standards are still higher. Look, you can find some small, homogenous European societies where the standard living conditions are pretty good, and they have a good welfare state, they take care of each other, and that's fine. I always get annoyed when we compare those places to the entirety of the United States, which is massive, geographically massive, has way more people, has far more regional differences, is heterogeneous in terms of race and ethnicity and background, and also has vastly different governments and kinds of industry. We're a very diverse, big country. So comparing all of us to just Norway is, I think, ridiculous. But by any measure, we are a very wealthy country, and though we do have poor people that maybe we should do more for. We can talk about different policies. I mean, we have better. In a lot of European countries, they have smaller homes. They have less. They can't heat their homes. They don't have appliances like dishwashers, things like that. It's reaching to say we are poorer societies because of this. But maybe you disagree, Batya.
No, I totally agree. I think this is nonsense. And I think there's a sleight of hand here. He's comparing the bottom 10% of Americans to the average Slovenian. I mean, what is that going to teach you exactly?
Right.
It reminds me a lot of this quote from, I wish I remember his name, is a Russian philosopher who was sort of persona non grata. I think he was sent to a gulag by the Soviets. And he used to say,
Solzhenitsyn,
we wanted
that's who you're talking about.
Probably, yes. He said we wanted nobody to be poor and they want nobody to be rich, right? I mean, the problem with the society is not that people are rich. Inequality is not a problem if your poorest person is a millionaire, right? If you know what I mean? The problem is not the gap. The problem is there a dignified standard of living accessible and available to every person in your country? Is there upward mobility? We do have a problem, but the problem is not that the poor are poor. The problem is that we have limited upward mobility for the working class. And this is something leftists don't understand. There's a real tension between having a truly equal opportunity society and having a welfare state that caters to the bottom, that caters to the poor in the way that, more socialist oriented societies do. That's not what working class Americans want. They want upward mobility. They want reasonably priced housing. They want good wages that, for dignified labor. And this whole mentality that you judge a society based on, of course, I totally agree with you. The dependent poor, we have to have some sort of solution for that. Homelessness, the drug addiction, people who are at the bottom, they deserve to have attention. The most vulnerable deserve to have a society that cares for them. But that is not how you judge a society. And it really bothers me when you have countries like Sweden, whose main export is an app called Angry Birds, sitting there judging the country that created the vaccine that, saved millions and millions and millions of lives, if not billions of lives across the country because of the innovative spirit, that we have here. The problem is not the billionaire class. The problem is not the rich. The problem is not people who employ millions and millions of other Americans. The problems are much smaller. They're problems of upward mobility for working class Americans. How many people are in the middle class? It used to be 60% of our society was in the middle class. Now it's down to 40%. How do we get it so that it's 70%? I mean, these are sort of much smaller questions, but to indict an entire society in this way by comparing us unfavorably to these European countries that produce absolutely nothing, I mean, I'm calling foul.
Yeah, no, I agree. And they look. There are dirty parts of Europe. There are miserable parts of Europe. There are parts where I think the average like apartment size. We complain about the housing prices here in the U.S. Totally legitimately. I think there should be a lot more housing. I got a lot of ideas for how to build more places for people to live, but the places people live in many European countries are much smaller on average than what even our less well-off people. Not comparing to our mansions, but what a standard dwelling unit is for someone in the U.S. So it's a little bit of a sleight of hand. I agree with you. And a lot of these countries, like I think Switzerland's doing great. It's a great place to live. I think it ranks higher, or sometimes ranks higher, just about the same on like the market freedom index. Like it's not at all a socialist country. It has very robust working markets. Maybe it provides a more even, reliable social safety net. That's not even something I'm against doing in the U.S. We can talk about what the right way to implement it is. I think a lot of us liked the kind of Andrew Yang sort of guaranteed income approach more than some of the food stamps or other kinds of welfare ideas. But look, yes, obviously most people agree that a country needs to do a certain amount or even a better job of taking care of the poorest off. But you don't reduce inequality by punishing the people at the top. It's good that we can have wealthy people here. We just got to make sure the whole society enjoys the benefits of the vast wealth that the U.S. has. But like I said in my radar, right? People want to come to the U.S. because it is better. This is where they want to come because this is where the freedom and the prosperity is. So.
Right, exactly. And I think that too often what the left wants is for more people to be living on the social, on the safety net, as opposed to having more upward mobility for people to get out of it. Long and short of it is, it was great being here with you today, Robby. Thanks as always for keeping it real and for all the great commentary. And I will be watching you and Brianna for the rest of the week.
Thank you so much, Batya. It's always a pleasure. And for the audience, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss any of our content. And for those of you who like to listen while on the go, we're now available anywhere you listen to podcasts. And also catch us on the Plex TV app. We might have more news to share on that front at a coming date. But for now, that's how you can watch us. And I look forward to seeing everybody back here tomorrow. Take care.